All right, today we are diving into one of the biggest, most mind-bending paradoxes in all of physics. We're talking about the colossal energy that our best theories say should be packed into every single speck of empty space. We're going to look at a pretty radical new perspective that says the solution isn't buried in complex math, but in the very geometry of reality itself. Okay, let's get right into it. Physicists have a name for this problem. They call it the vacuum catastrophe. And honestly, catastrophe is the right word. It's a problem so huge, it suggests there's a fundamental crack in how we understand the entire universe. But here's a thought. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? The material we're digging into today asks a really fascinating question. What if the problem isn't a mistake in the numbers, but a massive misunderstanding of what empty space even is? This is the heart of the whole problem. That's a 1 with 122 zeros after it. I mean, you can't even comprehend a number that big. It represents the insane gap between the energy our theories predict for the vacuum and what we actually see out there. So here's the breakdown. On one side, you have quantum field theory, which basically predicts that any patch of empty space should be absolutely boiling with a sea of energy. But on the other side, when we actually look at the universe, we see, well, almost nothing. The energy density is so close to zero, it's spooky. This massive contradiction, that's the vacuum catastrophe. So how in the world do you solve something like that? Well, this is where this new idea just flips the entire script. It says the problem isn't with the insane amount of energy. The problem is with our assumption that space is empty in the first place. You know, the old way of thinking sees space as just an empty box that things exist in. This new paradigm says the exact opposite. It suggests that space itself is this incredibly super dense, continuous quantum medium, a reality that is completely full, not empty. This theory has a name for it: hyperspace. So what exactly is this hyperspace, or the absolute? Well, it's defined as the true fundamental reality, a super dense quantum continuum that holds a practically infinite potential of energy and information. So what we call empty space is actually this unbelievably rich foundation of everything. And just listen to this. The difference in scale is just, whoa. The source material says our entire visible universe, every star, every galaxy, is just a paper-thin wrapper on the surface of this vast, hidden quantum reality. It's like we're living on the skin of an apple and have no idea about the apple itself. So you have to be asking, if this colossal energy is everywhere, why can't we see it? Why can't we measure it? Well, the answer is kind of beautiful. It's because it's too perfect. This hyperspace is in a state of absolute universal neutrality. Our instruments are built to detect changes, differences, polarity, the waves on the surface of the ocean. They are completely blind to the deep, calm, immense ocean itself. Okay, so if this infinite energy is all around us, what's stopping it from just flooding our reality and blowing everything apart? The theory suggests the answer isn't some mathematical sleight of hand. It's a real, physical, geometric structure. These structures are called barrier membranes, and you can think of them as these incredibly complex, multi-layered, geometric filters that stand between the infinite potential of hyperspace and the electromagnetic universe that we can actually see and touch. So here's the simple version of how they work. You've got the infinite potential of hyperspace on one side, then you have this barrier membrane acting like a cosmic gatekeeper. It's like a lock that only a very specific key can open. Only potential that has the exact right geometric shape, what's called structural resonance, gets to pass through. And that little bit of filtered potential is what manifests as all the matter and energy in our universe. And this right here is the absolute key. Modern physics has been trying to solve the vacuum catastrophe by finding some clever math trick to make these huge numbers cancel each other out on a blackboard. This theory says that's a dead end. Instead, the universe itself has a physical filter, a geometric boundary that carefully doses the energy allowed into our reality. Now, this is where the idea gets even crazier and more elegant, because this same geometric principle doesn't just work on the scale of the entire cosmos, it actually unifies every scale of reality, from the biggest galaxies down to the tiniest particles. It all comes down to the law of fractality. It's that ancient idea, as above, so below. It just means the same basic patterns, the same geometric rules, are repeating themselves over and over, whether you're looking at the structure of a solar system or the structure of an atom. This diagram here shows what's called the hyperprototype. You can think of it as the universal blueprint for everything. It's a single, ideal programming scheme that shows how everything in the universe unfolds from one simple starting point into more and more complex geometric forms. So what does all this mean for something like a proton? Well, in this view, a proton isn't a solid little ball of stuff. It's more like a stable vortex in water, a local zone of deformation in the underlying fabric of space. And its properties, even its incredibly precise size, are a direct result of the geometric tension in this universal fractal lattice. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? Where does this paradigm-shifting view of reality ultimately lead us? Well, it leads to a profound reversal in how we think about science. The source material basically argues that physics has hit a wall. Paradoxes like the vacuum catastrophe simply can't be solved if we stick to a purely materialistic view of the world. And this chart nails the shift perfectly. The old paradigm says matter and energy come first, and geometry is just a result of how that stuff is arranged. This new paradigm flips that completely upside down. It says that geometry and information are primary. Matter and energy are just the manifestation of an underlying geometric code. So ultimately, the picture that emerges is this. The physical world we see, all the matter around us, is just the visible edge, the periphery. It's the effect. The true cause, the real foundation of everything, is an invisible primary structure of information and geometry. And that leaves us with one final, pretty deep question to chew on. If the tangible world we experience is just a projection of some unseen, perfect geometry, then what is the true nature of reality itself? Definitely something to think about.